guys, let's take a look at this week's internet weather. This is the top 10 most probed ports for the past week. You can see there hasn't been a whole lot of changes in the past week, but I'm going to roll through these just because. The first port is 23 TCP, that's Telnet. 445 TCP is SMB. 80 ICMP is ping, and those have stayed in the top 3 spots since this past week. 22 TCP is SSH. 1433 is Microsoft SQL Server. 3389 is remote desktop. That one has moved 2, but that's not a huge move. 443 TCP is down 1. That is TLS or HTTPS. 80 TCP is plain old web. 8089 is an alternate web port. Sometimes you'll see it as a proxy thing. It's not really clear what that one is yet. 81 TCP is another web port. Now, the most sources probing, this is usually a measure of the size of a botnet or botnets. You can see that, again, a whole lot of these have stayed in their spots. I'm just going to run through the ones that I haven't mentioned so far. 8291 and 8728 are both related to MikroTik routers, Winbox, and I think an API port. 53 UDP down in 9th place is DNS. 443 you'll see has actually moved 5 spaces. We'll take a look at that in a second. But again, not a lot of movers and shakers this week. Taking a closer look at port 443, the number of scanning sources, you'll see that there was a spike in the last week or so, somewhere around 2.8 thousand scan sources per hour. So 28, it's not a lot. It's not even the biggest in the last month. You'll see another spike around the 16th of this month, but it did show up on our radar. And that's the internet weather for this week.
So it's been a knock on wood, right? We're getting some sleep in. Is that what you're saying, Matt?
Hopefully. I mean, it's hard to say what this represents, to be honest with you, especially because TLS is encrypted traffic. I mean, even if we were to somehow receive this, if the person who's reaching out to it is expecting a different certificate, doing any sort of validation, you wouldn't see what the request was. So we don't really have a good idea of what particular application is being scanned here.
And even on the first chart you were showing, you had mentioned, I think RDP was the biggest mover. It only went up 2. And even there, it's something that we probably see every day.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you see a movement in here, it's because a botnet has been retargeted to some other port. And it's hard to say when that's going to happen. I mean, a lot of times you would think that if a new vulnerability came out, you would see a response to that. And a lot of times you do. But sometimes you've got large pivots from these botnets where somebody finds a vulnerability that isn't new, something that's been out for a year or 2 or 3 years, and they suddenly start having an interest in it. So sometimes it's hard to predict these sorts of shifts.